Hello everybody, Anthony is here. In this video, I'll talk about how I created this particular flying boat, share my techniques, tips and tricks. So let's get started. And the starting point is really simple, just three people sitting in a row. And that really kind of gives me enough information to build stuff around them. So again, ergonomics is the key. I want to build something where the people can live in. And I'm creating these walls using the blob tool at corners set at like 22 radius at the rounded corners radius. The new feature that appeared in the 3 Code 2023. So make sure to upgrade your code to have that. It's super useful. And now pretty much identified my boat by doing this little layout. And then I'm using the big move brush just to push the stuff around and see how it looks. So I didn't like that my engines could go deformed. So I was thinking about those wings being also holding my engines. So I decided to delete them and recreate them. So I really like how it looks, like clean, kind of like some wooden board or that's been deformed, like thin wooden board. And I forgot, to be honest, the name for particular material where you use the kind of wooden dust to make it. Plywood. So plywood stuff that can deform to your liking. And then I'm using the sphere tool to build the railing. So I want to build the railing slightly outside. So I'm trying to build it, out, not straight there. And then I'm trying to use the curve tool to carry on building it. So and then I managed to get a bit of a curve and trying to get the beams to reinforce the railing. Didn't want to have too many of them. I didn't want to make it too noisy. But of course, the more you put, the kind of more the stronger the structure will be. And there you go. We have the railing on the outside. And I'm thinking about the bottom and what kind of foundation we should put in the bottom, how it should hold. Trying to be economical with the materials. We can put this makeshift stuff. Usually people put a bit, stronger materials, since they're not kind of limited by the factory environment, or they're not trying to make everything to be super cost effective. They can have cheap materials, thick materials, which will hold stuff together. So here I'm thinking maybe it's either thick plastic parts or thick wood being nailed together. And this back part. So one thing I didn't like that my back luggage thing was actually the same size as the front cabin, and eventually I cut it and made it like twice smaller, even that particular back piece. So adding some railings, extra railings all around creates a nice functional noise, nice details that make sense, because pretty much every boat has a railing. And it's a flying boat, so you don't wanna fall off. You want extra supports to hold to. So I created this little trap door in front. So maybe there were too much railings, so I decided to remove some of them and keep them closer to the surface. And I'm making this little window, reminiscent of like a boat window. And again, if I didn't have the rounded corners feature, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of this stuff. So it's a big improvement for the design inside 3D Code. I really like the skeleton stuff in the bottom, so that's just as much as we need there. And now I'm making the engines. So I have this thick holding planks, and then the engines themselves are attached to the sides. So I'm thinking about maybe like a small intake. And I decided to go like kind of creative here, and I'm rotating this pattern across, creating the intake pattern, exhaust pattern. So I was pretty happy with this. And here I'm thinking about thick plastic. It can be a hollow plastic with like double walled plastic. It can be thick plastic that's been 3D printed, so it will have extra reinforcement. Because if say it's a makeshift boat where they make it in somewhere in the slums, they will have computers and everything, so they might have the 3D printed there. They will just download particular schematics to 3D print what they need, and also use the materials on the ground that they have like lying around to build the other parts. Creating the antennas, turning off the symmetry so it wouldn't look weird. And I decided to go with more like a thicker antenna, so it looks slightly more different than typical one. I'm using a sphere tool on a straight line to create these extra supports. I'm now doing the benches for the people. Again, since we have people there sitting in a sitting position, you can just use it as your ergonomics guide. You don't have to think about how many centimeters you have to put at the top. What is the distance between the benches? You just use the people, and that will give you an innate reference guide. So adding some detailing to the some kind of screws or screw pods, little details here and there. I always have the cast shadows on. It really helps me to see this shadow play. If I don't have it on, it makes it much harder to design. So I'm doing this LED light on top. And the backlights as well. And then the supports for them to hold on to the body. And it could be like a gazillion lights, especially if there is a person there making it for himself, and he or she decorates it as they want. That becomes it can go pretty crazy with the random lights, random stuff, right? Random elements. Like I've actually put a link for jeepney pack that I made for some photos in Philippines, where each jeepney public transport that they have made by hand, pretty much handmade, and each jeepney will be decorated by the owners really differently. There could be like extra 50 railings on top, could be a particular graphics on there, or 50 lights. So everybody will go with their own design. So you have a lot of freedom of thought here. It doesn't have to make complete sense. And now I'm doing some cables. Here I'm doing cables. I regretted that I was doing it symmetrically, because I mean they wouldn't really look like that, so we wouldn't be the same length, they wouldn't be identical. So I was trying to break it apart by using the move tool and at least making it like less symmetrical, but not really the best look. And now just doing some extra using the curve and doing some extra lines, extra cables, just to add a bit more visual noise, especially here on the railing. So that might be the line that's connecting to the light. So now I'm just picking everything and rotating it to put it in place. There we go, rotated it and then kind of put it around there at the railing. And it really doesn't have to be symmetrical. It can be just one cable running from the left side, going to the right, and then you don't really need to double cables from each side. And I still didn't like the railing, so I decided to fix it a little bit, make it more rounded, like that. That was pretty cool. And trying to do some splits and cleanups of the whole thing. And like I was saying, this particular part was too big, so in the end I didn't record the part, but I squished it by like 50%. And I squished it using the transpose tool. The just through all the volumes, you can pick it everything up and just move it to the right, and we get it. That's really about it. So some finishing touches. Thank you for watching. There'll be more vehicles coming in the future. So just let's see you in the future video.